Hello, everybody, and welcome to my live stream. Whoops, I'm bumping my table here. This is the Epic Marvel Podcast YouTube channel, and I'm broadcasting on Sunday afternoon. I have one box that I'm going to open up today, and then I have a couple other boxes that I should have opened on the live stream, but I already opened them because I couldn't wait. They are some DC finest, and so we'll talk about some of these as well, like this one over here. And let's so funny thing happened to me today, this morning. I was at church, and after church, somebody comes up to me and asks for my name. What is my name? And I tell him Curtis. He says, "Do you cover Epic collections on YouTube?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." He was visiting from Saskatchewan. A chance encounter in the wild. Somebody who recognized me from YouTube, and I thought that was pretty cool. So, they don't have that many followers, but so the chances of that random encounter happening pretty slim, but it was still really awesome. So it's always nice to meet someone who is a fellow comic book fan. Well, looks like we have a bunch of my good friends, George, Logan Wayne, Phil, Ecto, Max, Ron, Canary, live action meme. What does that mean? I don't understand that comment. Tell me what's going on here. Okay, so I have, like I said, I've got one box. This has an Epic collection in here, and and we're going to talk about some of these DC finest that I've obtained recently because they are really, really cool. And I'm excited to talk about them with some people here. You may have seen me on Dom's channel on Dom of X because we were talking on Friday about some of these upcoming uh, some of the recently released DC finest. Had a great time talking to people. But let's see what's here today. We'll start with the Epic, and then we'll get over to DC after that. Curtis is officially an E-list celebrity. E is an Epic. That's awesome. Yeah, that's funny. What do we have today? This is a book that's coming out at the end of December, and it is Thor Modern Era Epic Collection. This is volume 2. It's called The Siege of Asgard. And let's see here. Collecting Thor number 601 to 614, plus Thor Annual number 1, and that's from 2009, and Thor Giant Size Finale number 1, Siege Loki number 1, and New Mutants 11. So this is going to have some double dipping with the Loki Epic Collection, I believe Volume 2 Epic Collection. But let's take a look inside here. Oh, you want to see the back cover? Here's the spine and the back cover. Now, this is called The Siege of Asgard, and the story wraps up in the siege, uh, event. But you're not going to find that in here because the modern epics don't include the large events. They'll probably give it its own epic collection at some point. Um, but we should get a text recap or something like that. So let's see what's inside. There's the title page. There's the list of creators. It goes in order of the issues that come out. Uh, they don't have a table of contents per se in these ones because these pages are not numbered because of the full bleed art. But this is the rest of J. Michael Straczynski's run. So he does 601 to 603 plus finale, and then Peter Milligan does the Thor Annual number 1. Then we get into Kieran Gillen's era, 604 to 606, and Kieran Gillen was also doing the title Journey into Mystery at the time, which was um, featuring Loki. So he was writing both of them, and so we're going to get a crossover between some of those characters here, I think. Although we don't have any Journey into Mystery issues in this collection. Maybe that's going to be in the next volume. But here's what some of the art looks like. Who's the artist on this one? Let's see here. Marko Djurdjevic. Billy Tan comes a little bit later. These are some remarkable artists. It looks like there's no dialogue in here, but that's just the glare from my monitor. There is dialogue in those balloons. The first volume was great. I really like it. I especially like the story with these two characters, and I'm interested to see how that plays out in this volume here. But yeah, lots of fun stuff. This is the era where Thor and all of Asgard, the remaining people of Asgard after a Ragnarok event, are in a new Asgard that is hovering over top of a city in Oklahoma, and they are trying to figure out their place in the world and how to interact with humans and be themselves. And of course, so actually, now that I think about it, the journey into mystery stuff that Kieran Gillen does is after Siege. It's a result of Siege, so that's that crossover is probably going to be in the next volume, volume 3. Now that I remember the timeline of events here. Here's a story with Doctor Doom in it. Although, where's Doctor Doom? We don't see him. Oh yeah, the Destroyer. Great cover. Look at that cover there. Thor's not usually my thing. I'm not a huge Thor fan, but I did enjoy. I still enjoy the epics that I've read. They're all still great. Especially like the DeFalco stuff in the '90s, and this first volume with J. Michael Straczynski was actually really good too. So high hopes for this one as well. And Kieran Gillen, from the stuff that I've read of his work, really enjoy. So looking forward to checking out um, the last half of this book that has his run in it as well. That Sif down in the bottom there. Cool. Okay, let's see what else is in here. There's a New Mutants issue. Whoa, wow, there's some graphic stuff there. That's a spoiler. I'm not going to show you that page. Uh, let's get ahead to the bonus features. We have some variant covers. One with a Deadpool. Looks like a Deadpool groundhog or something. Was that, what kind of Iron Man is that? Looks like a Viking Iron Man. That's kind of cool. Siege Loki is included in the first Loki Epic Collection. So there is that double dipping. There's some original art. That's kind of cool by Doug Braithwaite, who is an incredible artist. Just seeing his pencils, that's very cool. I like that. Wow, we've got some more of his work here. Have at the Gillen, an article from Thor Spotlight. So we're going to get a little bit of behind the scenes stuff there, the long article. And then next up in the modern era epic collections is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 War of Kings, which I'm really excited to read as well. So yeah, there we go. That's some really cool stuff here. What do you have to say in the comments there? Journey into Mystery is fantastic. That's the Loki epic collection. This epic has like 4 or so issues not in the Kieran Gillen complete collection, and that is maddening. Yes, they will make you buy this because it is mapped differently. Which issues are those? Probably the ones that are not in the Kieran Gillen complete collections. Were not written by Kieran Gillen, like Thor Annual, Giant Size Finale, maybe the New Mutants issue. I'm not sure. Who writes the New Mutants issue? Let's find out. Oh, that's Kieran Gillen. That makes sense. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's too bad. If you have the Kieran Gillen complete collections, you'll have to decide if you want to upgrade to this or hang on to those ones. The West Coast Avengers epic mapping drives me insane. Why does it drive you insane? West Coast Avengers epic mapping? They're just doing a straight shot through the issues. Is it because they're not including some of the crossovers or such? Please expand on that for me. The Thor JIM crossover is in the Fraction Thor run, so at least one, maybe two volumes away. Okay, yeah, that actually makes sense because it's in the second Loki um, epic. Oh, we were going to look to see if there was a text page for the events of Siege, and that comes after Thor 606, I think. No page numbers on here, so I have to figure that out. Okay. Oh, let me remove the comment. Here's Siege Loki. Before that, nothing before that. Let's see what happens after that. And then Siege Ragnarok. Oh, okay. So here's the Siege, the Thor tie-in issues for Thor right here. There's the floating city, the floating Asgard above Oklahoma. That's kind of cool. Um, no, there's no text. So I guess we'll find out when we read through this, or at least I will find out when we read through this, if it makes sense only reading the Thor tie-in issues and skipping over the entire event. I'm not sure, but there are no text recaps. Siege Ragnarok. This is the conclusion. So if there's going to be a text recap, there's going to be got to be after this issue here. Beautiful art in this. Nope. Oh, but then there's a New Mutants tie-in here. So let's see if it's after New Mutants. No, no tie-ins, no text recaps at all. I mean, at all. So there you go. That's unfortunate. But they did reprint Siege just recently, the trade paperback. So maybe you'll be able to pick up a copy if you can find it. Other than that, you'll have to wait till the event epic comes out, which we are getting some event epics because we got Annihilation epic collection on the horizon coming up next year. If they just reprinted the Siege trade paperback, they probably won't be bringing that to epics anytime soon. So you'll have to weigh your odds, and I don't know. You'll have to figure out what you want to do. Yeah, it's the JMS issues. That's right. The JMS issues. I have Epic number 1 and the Gillen Complete. So to complete the J. Michael Straczynski run, you'll have to double dip. Probably wait till you can find it for a discount. Yeah, I understand. That is disappointing. And then David expanded on his comment. He says this is referring to West Coast Avengers. It's because it doesn't match up with neither the original West Coast Avengers nor the Byrne Omni. It matches with the West Coast Avengers Omni series, but they're way out of print. Um, just wish the epics matched up with the start of Byrne. Yeah, so that is definitely the issue. All of these different lines and different series don't have the same starting points just because of the way that depending on how many pages are typically in a book or what bonus features they're including. I can understand that. I get it because you've already invested heavily into this other format and then it doesn't line up properly. Um, Either they do it on purpose so that you'll have to rebuy stuff, or they do it just because they feel like that's the best way to map for that particular format without really paying any attention to other stuff. Okay. There was a West Coast Avengers Omnibus. Does it contain the Burn Run? And has it been out of print for a long time? Can't answer that question for you. Hopefully, David C. can answer that. There you go. Spiral Storm says, what has been opened up? I've only opened up one book. We were talking about it just recently here. This Thor Modern Era Epic Collection Volume 1. What I'm going to talk about next are some DC Finest, which I've already opened up because I just couldn't wait. I wanted to see them. and I didn't want to wait for all of you. Sorry about that, everybody. But this one came out a couple weeks ago, and I just want to say that this volume is kind of strange. I do appreciate Justice League in the 60s because it was very formative for the way that comics were being done at the time. Um, this is the back cover featuring some of the comics that are found inside. Crisis on Two Earths. So at this point in DC Finest history, they were doing an annual event where the Justice League would cross over to Earth 2 and have or the Justice Society would cross over to Earth 1 and have adventures where they were both sharing the same universe for a little bit of time. Um, they did that for I think 6 years in a row, and this volume has some like the last three of those times, and they're really fun. That's for me. That's the highlight of this book. I really enjoyed those crossovers, especially. Let me see if I can find a picture of it here, because Robin, the Earth 2 Robin shows up in one of them, and he is a full-grown adult who's taken over, kind of being Batman. Where is the picture of him? Oh, here we go. There he is, right there. With the R. He's got a bat with an R on it, so he's kind of combined the two personalities into one. There's a better picture of him on the cover. There he is. The grown-up Robin. And that's kind of cool to see. I mean, it's kind of like a what if, but he's fully in there, participating with the rest of the group. And the bad guys are kind of lame. In fact, most of the bad guys in this book are kind of lame. I wish that they had some kind of, a little bit more cool villains. But that such is the Silver Age of DC with this guy with the flower head. Um, some of the big villains they had, like let's see, this guy, the Antimatter Man, Spectre fights this guy, the Antimatter Man. If I can find a picture of him, um, right there. So that's kind of as big as they get. But even that guy wasn't that big of a threat because um, the Justice League were able to kind of figure out what to do with them pretty quick. The stakes aren't incredibly high in these comics. These were all one and done issues, so they had to wrap up their storyline in 22 pages or less. And the way that it worked here is that each issue was split into chapters. And so you'd get the first chapter where the whole team was kind of getting together and figuring out the problem. And then they would split up the team into different little sections. And two characters would go over here to solve this part of the case. And two characters would solve this part of the case. And two characters would go over here and solve that part of the case. And I actually like that setup because then you're able to focus in and showcase a little bit more of the actual characters who would normally maybe get swallowed up in a team setting. So I did like that. I just wanted to say hi after we bumped into each other earlier today. Awesome. Yeah, that is the fellow who found me at church this morning, which is really, really cool. He visiting Vancouver and didn't expect to see me there, but noticed me in the crowd and came up and said hi. So I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. What else do I have here? Um, so I think it was a really smart move to have that Justice League book come out and then follow it up so quickly with a Justice Society of America book. Because for the uninitiated DC fan like myself, who just kind of generally knows these characters, it was cool to learn about them in the context of Justice League, but then have this book come out to talk about them further and get more of their origin stories and such. So this is Justice Society of America, which is going to be volume one, I believe, 1940 to 1942, and it's made up of issues of All Star Comics. And I haven't really looked into the history of All Star Comics, but it sure seems like it's used as a way. to promote all of the other titles that DC is putting out at the time. And I'll tell you why. Because each one of these issues, and this is a really brilliant format. I love this. Um, they all start together. This is very similar to Justice League, where they all start together, gathered around the table or whatever, and then they're swapping stories with each other. So the Flash goes first. We get a story, a little 8-page story about Flash. This is Jay Garrick, Flash, the Golden Age Flash. And then after that, he throws it over to Hawkman, and now we have a Hawkman story. And each one of these stories is about 8 pages. And each one of these stories is also done by different creative teams. So, like, um, what's the guy's name here? Sheldon Moldoff does the Hawkman stories. I was very impressed with his work. He's incredible, a great artist, great storyteller. And then after Hawkman, he throws it over to Spectre, and Spectre tells us a little story, an adventure that he had recently, and it goes through all of the characters. After Spectre is Our Man, and then um, after Our Man is a little guest appearance from the original Red Tornado. And then Sandman, which I was super impressed with Sandman as well. I thought that was really kind of cool, very dark and mysterious. And then Doctor Fate, which is a little bit more fantasy, a little bit more out there. And then a text story with for Johnny Thunder. That's my bookmark. Um, Johnny Thunder is kind of the odd duck out among all the people. He has got a weird power where he can just kind of think of something and it'll happen. Um, and then after that is the Atom, the original Atom. He gets a little short story, and then at the very end, they all come together and have one little final gag. Oh no, Green Lantern gets a story. There's a lot of characters. These were like 60-page issues. Um, yeah, and then they all get together at the end and say, "Oh, good job, everybody. This is a great meeting. See you next time." And at the end of each story, at the very bottom, it says Green Lantern appears every month in All American Comics. And it has that at the bottom of all of the pages so that you know where these characters are appearing in their own solo stories. But the whole book is like that. So, and I think that's great because one of the things that's hard about these Golden Age comics is just kind of the repetitiveness of it. But the fact that we're getting a different creative team with different writers and different artists for each one of those little segments keeps me interested all the way through. And there are some segments that I'm more interested than others, like Hawkman has been really good. I didn't particularly care for Dr. Fate. Um, but I did like Sandman a lot. Don't know anything about this Golden Age Sandman, so I thought it was really cool. Very, very interesting. Great stuff to see. I'm glad that this is in my hands and that it's available for all of us to enjoy. The stories themselves, um, again, little hit or miss depending on the writer and the team and such, but really great little hard hitting stories. It's hard to do little 8-page stories that have any sort of significance. So I look at these circles. I love this panel here, V circles. That's pretty cool. Yeah, lot to love there. So I am only partway through this one, and I know there's a follow-up coming out in 2025 as well. So I'm glad that those are coming so close together. Very cool. And the last book I want to talk about here is Green Lantern. Um, so far, every DC Finest book has been 55% off, about 18 bucks for their first week at in-stock trades, which has been great. And I wonder how long they'll do that. You folks in the United States are so fortunate to have access to in-stock trades. That is like 18 bucks for this is a tremendous deal. In Canada, our cover price is 53.99. Hello, Germany. How, Rudiger? Nice to see you. I'm planning on getting both JLA and JSA books. Those Golden and Silver Age stories could be a little rough at times, but it was always great seeing these characters interacting with one another. I agree. All Star Comics eventually has them teamed together, but break into smaller groups, kind of like Justice League, those Justice League ones I was telling you about. Okay, great. Do all the stories have team credits? From what I've heard, they weren't giving credits like we are used to. Yeah, so it's a little hard to decipher, but they let me get that book again because I will show you. They do credit all of the different teams in the table of contents, but it's a little hard to decipher. So let's see if you can see this. For each story, it does give the long list of people involved, but it says like um, artists Hibbard for the introduction, the interlude, and the conclusion. Stan Ash, chapters 1, 2, and 8. Ben Flinton, chapter 3, etc. So they just say chapter 3, chapter 4. So you kind of have to count for yourself through the issue to figure out who is doing what. But they're pretty consistent. So once you start recognizing the styles and you know, oh, this is an Our Man story, and I know now who the Our Man team is, then it's easier to decipher. But yeah, so the credits are all there. You just have to flip back and forth. Um, I'm guessing the 55% deal is because in stock trades is their distribution, because they are Lunar, right? They are Lunar in stock trades, or is that somebody else? I can't remember, but yeah, they obviously get a good deal from the distributor if they're able to discount it that much and still make money. Nick says, have you read Vertigo Sandman Mystery Theater? The compendium is worth getting if you haven't. I have not. So you recommend it, do you? Maybe I should check it out. Is 600 pages getting close to being too heavy for easy reading, or is it still manageable? I would say that it's right on the edge. I do find it a little on the big side, mainly because it does get tiring holding it up. Um, if you're holding it in your hand, then you have to grip it enough that you're creating a gutter in there. You could put it on your lap or on a table or something like that, but I'm not always sitting at a table, nor do I want to really sit at a table while I read a book. I'd rather curl up on the couch or something. So you have to figure it out. I would say that I definitely wouldn't want big books like this any fatter than this. Um, Otherwise, you have to definitely have some sort of support. But they're still good if you want to like take it on an airplane. Maybe we'll finally get completed collections of Sandman Mystery Theater at DC Finest. I should check out Sandman Mystery Theater. You people are talking about it. Mystery Theater is awesome. Would get a second volume compendium for sure. Wow. I guess maybe I should check that out. Okay, sorry. I was going to talk about Green Lantern. Here it is. Green Lantern. This is 1963 to 1965 with Green Lantern 19 to 30 plus Flash 143 and Brave and the Bold 59. This is going to be probably volume 2 of the Hal Jordan era Green Lantern. I would imagine that we'll get some volumes before this with the Alan Scott Green Lantern, but this is the second volume of the Silver Age stuff, which has already been reprinted in omnibus form. It was in the old Silver Age trade paperbacks that were made because of those Silver Age omnis. So that's this here. John Broome, Gardner Fox, Gil Kane, and Joe Giella, which is a great team. Um, Most of these guys are involved with Flash as well, with Carmen Infantino on the art, and so it makes sense that they're going to have a team up in here. I haven't read very much of this yet, so it's hard for me to comment on the content of the stories, but the art looks cool. And if Flash any indication, these stories are going to be excellent because that Flash book that just came out, the DC Finest Flash, really, really great stuff. I absolutely love that one. Um, so I'm going to dig into this one this week, and we shall see. The only thing that was a bummer, and I know I'm late to the party, so you probably all already know this, is that Green Lantern has a sidekick um named who goes has a nickname Pie Face. He looks very Asian, and calling him Pie Face is a slanderous term for the stereotype of Asians having round faces. So it's like, this is a product of its time for sure. They put a little warning in the beginning of the book here, and you have to read that with the context of the era in mind. But it's like, oh boy, can't believe that character exists. So, I mean, I know nothing about the character himself. Hopefully, he's a good character. Apparently, he's well loved and lasted a long time in the comics. So, I'm going to say that he probably had a good, a good character arc. Okay, this Green Lantern volume seems to establish that the team up books issued with the guest stars will be reprinted in those character lines as well as the team up line. I think so. That would be great. Um, it would be really nice to see those issues kind of parted out, all of the Brave and Bold issues parted out to their respective heroes' books, as well as in the team up book. I mean, that would be kind of a lot of double dipping, but um, you know, we'll have to see how they decide to handle it. Set in the 40s. Is this book? Oh no, the Green Lantern Mystery Theater is set in the 40s. Yeah, I would imagine so. If you're talking about uh, Sandman, like the Golden Age Sandman, that's kind of cool. Which storyline would you like to see in DC Finest? I'm honestly not too particular because I don't know much about DC. I would love to see the Triangle era. I know it's getting an Omni, but I want to see the Triangle era in in DC Finest because that's how I'm going to be purchasing Superman comics. Um, let's see here. I missed a lot of comments here. This one I want to say, hey Curtis and everyone else, finally made the dip into Terry and the Pirates Master Collection. It's a massive book. I Seems like a live stream doesn't go by before I talk about Terry and the Pirates. Yes, they are massive. That is the size comparison in these books. And so, yes, I was talking about the how these ones are a little unmanageable with 600 pages. These ones are only like under 200 pages, but the size of it means you need to definitely sit at a table or something. Although actually the hardback does actually make it easier to open up and hold in your lap. Max says, I really want Hellblazer and Swamp Thing to get DC Finest. I think Swamp Thing, especially, is a shoe-in for this format, especially since they tried getting it off the ground with those Bronze Age um, trade paperbacks a little while ago. So, yeah, I think that's a shoe-in. Hellblazer, they spent a lot of time and effort doing all of those. There are like 20 plus volumes of the trade paperbacks of Hellblazer. I wonder if they will wait some time before they reprint it again, or I have no idea the status of those. Maybe they're already out of print already. Coffee table sized, yes, they are. You know that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer makes a coffee table book that has legs so it can actually be a coffee table book, a book that is a coffee table? That's kind of what this is as well, except it doesn't have the legs. Are you getting every Superman Golden Age volume? There's going to be a lot. Well, we'll see how it goes. I um I will get I'll get we'll see. I'm gonna see how they jump around. If they are going to do so many Golden Age like all in a row right off the bat, that gets a little tiring. But the second volume already releases from the 70s, and so if that's how they're gonna jump around, is go through different eras, then that's probably fine. Yeah, I'd be on part. Apart from being fun stories, they're a history lesson. Yes, they are. Certainly are. Um, as someone who mostly grew up with DC and then moved over to Marvel later, I think you were in for a treat. I will agree with that. Especially the 80s to 2010, they'll be much more grander, like Jim Starlin's Marvel books. I'm definitely looking forward to reading more of Jim Starlin's DC stuff because I love that guy. He's so fantastic. I think it will be most books are written on the scale of Starlin and Hickman. Yeah, well, good. I'm glad to hear it. A lot of those Hellblazer books are out of print for sure. I've got a couple of frustrating gaps in the early runs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to bring it back. If they sold well enough to be out of print, and they sold well enough to do 22 volumes, and you know how DC is about canceling series. That means they have a lot of there are a lot of Hellblazer fans there, and they have a lot of faith in that series. So without a doubt, they will bring it back in another format. And it seems like DC Finest might be the appropriate way for that to happen. 80s had a lot of Marvel creators who moved over to DC, so you'll likely appreciate that era. Yeah, Steve Englehart was one of them that kind of flip-flop between, depending. He would go over here, then get frustrated with them, and then go over there, and then get frustrated with them and go back over here. He flip-flop a lot. But the 80s was a time of experimentation for a lot of creators because that was kind of also the rise of the creator-owned comic book companies like Eclipse. They started in the late 70s, early 80s, and took a lot of those creators, Don McGregor and Jim Starlin, Steve Englehart. They all went over there to do creator-owned comics, and because of that, Marvel started Epic Comics, which was their creator-owned line, and I think DC had one as well, and Vertigo soon followed. So there is there's a lot of stuff, a lot of creators going back and forth trying to figure out where they fit the best and who was going to work with them on the projects that they wanted to do the best. Just check, there are 26 volumes of Hellblazer. That is a lot. That series went on for a long time. Um, okay, so in my next live stream, I should have Zero Hour, I think. I'll open up Zero Hour. And then also, what is the next Marvel book coming out here? Let me check my spreadsheet. Um, Guardians is it'll be Guardians, the modern era Guardians of the Galaxy. So those are the ones I'll have in my next live stream. Oh, here's a good question. James asks, what order are you going to put your DC Finest in? Order of release, by years, or by character? Great question. I think I'm going to put them in in order of character. It'll just be the easiest for me to find things that I want that way. All of my Marvel Epic collections are in character order as well, and these are going to sit in the shelf right beside the Epics. So there you go. Just tell me which book I should get this month. Doesn't have to be a new release. What? Well, I mean, you could get Terry and the Pirates. Um, let's see here. So I served as the editor for this series of books here, the For Better or For Worse, the complete library. I was working on the restoration as well in the Sunday pages, and this volume just came out. It's the last volume, volume 9. We completed the series through IDW, 9-volume set. So that's something that I'm always going to promote because that I worked on it and I love that comic strip so much. So there you go. That's my recommendation. Um, totally fine. You don't have to get it though. I'm not going to judge you. Anyway, I've got to go. I'm going to take my kid to go see Moana 2 today. And so hopefully that's a good movie. And I'll see you on the next live stream, everybody. Thanks for checking out my page. And I hope that you subscribe and I hope you like this video, and maybe go over to my Epic Marvel podcast, sorry, the Epic Collection Facebook page, Facebook group, Epic Collection Facebook group, and the DC Finest Facebook group, and join in the conversation there because we are talking about a lot of great comics over there. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see.